Alrighty, this is, I guess, part 2 of my Top-Flight P51 60 size Mustang. The earlier video I talked about these struts and installing these into here and why I couldn't get my radio to actually work with my struts. So I had several ideas I think are good ideas. You guys can judge for yourself, but I looked at the retracts that came with this, and as you know, they're the black type of retract like this right here, where it's just mechanical. So I went with the E-Flight retracts. One problem that I ran into is this is the strut that actually comes with the E-Flight retracts. So when I installed them in here, the problem that I had was this particular strut that came with this, came with the airplane, is kind of cocked off just a little bit. So the ones that were with the E-Flight, now E-Flight may make these that are a little bit off, but I don't know. The way I got them, they were straight like this and they would not work because they're going to hit the side here. But what I did was I took a Dremel and I took the struts that came with the plane and I just cut them off and actually put them into here. The other thing I had looked at, let me open this. The other thing I had looked at was possibly putting a Robart strut in here, which I really like the way they look, but I just couldn't justify spending, you know, $100 and something to go, wow, that looks cool. So I had this bright idea. I don't know, maybe we're going to find out how bright it was here once we get this thing flying. But what I did was I went out and I bought some brass tubing, and I bought these wheel collars that happened to just fit right into there. And what I did was I pushed one of the wheel collars all the way up to here, tightened down the set screw. I put one here and I put one here, and then once I slid this brass tubing over here, I pushed the other one in there. Now, one thing I found out was when I took the strut and put this in here like that, what happened was when I put the screw in there, it would stick out and wouldn't let this slide on there. So I took a sander and I sanded these wheel collars. I don't know, I think it looks pretty cool. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to put these doors on here. I probably am not going to do that, just leave them the way that they are. Looks pretty cool to me, and it only cost me $5 just for some brass tubing and some wheel collars to reinforce this. Because one thing I have noticed, especially for you guys that fly off of grass fields, what ends up happening is these struts that are like this just end up going doot, 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 and the plane moves all over the place. I can tell you this, I had a choice whether or not to use brass or to use aluminum, and I chose to use brass simply because of the stability. I mean, if that bends at all, you're not going to bend that. It's not going to bend. It's going to break loose in here before it actually bends this strut. So I thought that was pretty cool. The other problem that I ran into with the Top-Flight is the way that these retracts work, the mechanical ones, there's a tube that goes through here and comes out here on the airplane. I thought, well, that's cool. I'll just run my wire right through that tube. Well, yeah, here's the problem. Right here is there's a spar that runs right here. So the problem that I had was, how am I going to get this plug through that spar? Once I pulled the tubing out of there, there's a piece of tube that goes through there. That's where the cable that goes to the retract servo goes. And so I thought, well, there was no way to punch a hole through this spar, and I didn't want to weaken this wing by getting in there with a long drill bit and moving it around and possibly punching a hole through the wing. So what I decided to do was from here, I could run this wire through here, and it comes out right there. So, and once the wheels are actually closed, you don't see that anyways. So anyways, guys, that's where we are at this point. The other bright idea I had was on the machine guns, these that go right up here. was I went out and just got some brass or some aluminum tubing and drilled some holes through there and epoxied this onto the back, and it goes right there, which kind of looks cool as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I have done it before where I actually drilled little bitty holes in the wing and actually epoxied the machine guns in the wing, but I just thought on this one that I would do it that way. So I'm going to put that there. What I'm going to do here with this gap is I'm going to just put a piece of plywood in there, and or balsa wood, and I'm going to cover it in silver to cover that up. And I'm still debating on the doors. I don't think I'm going to put them in there because, well, because then you can't see my brass tubing. Alright guys, that's as far as we got on this thing at this point. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. What you should do on your, where the struts go, let me move this so I can see. There's two rods that run here that your strut or your retract actually mounts to. What I did on the inside of this was I took some hard wood about so big, and I cut it to where it goes up underneath this post, because this post is only, you know, about that big square, and it just, I didn't feel it was really that secure. So what I did was I took two pieces, one I cut for this side, one I cut for that side, and just put up a bunch of epoxy on there and shoved it up underneath here for these to screw into. And then I took a brush and some epoxy, and I epoxied that this whole cavity to where if for some reason we got a hard landing, it's going to break this wing before these ever come loose and come off. But anyways, I'll keep you guys posted as to how this thing finishes. We might even video the test flight of it.